So, an interesting thing happened to me when I was arriving at home today. I actually got a comment on one of my videos. It wasn't the first comment, but it was like the third comment. And it was somebody telling me that I should really consider making my channel anonymous, hiding my name, hiding my identity, and because it might ruin my reputation. And I'm not gonna shame this person at all. I think that their comment comes from a good place of concern, and I respect that. I don't want to be like, oh, that's a stupid thing. Don't tell me to hide my face and my reputation. But I just kind of got thinking about it. I'll be honest. It actually kind of took me aback for a moment, and it kind of made me think maybe they might be right. Actually, maybe I should maybe consider being more anonymous about this. That maybe this will come to bite me in the ass at one point. But then I kind of went over that little pang of doubt and concern, and then I said, you know what? No, I'm doubling down. I think I'm just really not gonna listen to that concern. I'm just gonna be continuing to freaking post this stuff with my full face and my identity, I guess, exposed to, well, again, my near non-existent audience, as I always say, but who knows, maybe in the future it'll change. Maybe a year from now this channel will explode and I'll have millions of subscribers. Not likely, but anything can happen. But yeah, no, I think I'm not gonna do that. I think I'm not gonna hide my identity because, as the great philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre said, I think it was Jean-Paul Sartre at least, be the change that you want to see in the world. I know, I sound like a completely pretentious cocksucker right now by saying that, but, so what, let me self-fillet myself and try and hearken in the words of the great Jean-Paul Sartre. Anyways, my point in all that is to be the change that I want to see in the world is I don't think people should be anonymous when they express their position on stuff. I mean, to be fair, don't get me wrong. If it's really necessary, yes, you should be anonymous. If your fucking livelihood depends on it, yeah, you should be anonymous. I have a luxury of not having to worry about that, at least for the time being. That might change in the future. But right now, my employment doesn't rely on me being anonymous. I would pretty much tell everything I've said on this video to the people I'm working with. Maybe I'd sugarcoat it a little bit. Maybe not be quite so crass in my ranting, but I would not censor my words with pretty much anybody that I'm currently working with. I'm not going to disclose my job or anything like that. Obviously, I'm going to keep that totally anonymous. But yeah, so I don't see how it would ruin my reputation in that regard. All my friends, my family, I pretty much tell them all the stuff that I have viewpoints on for the most part. Again, maybe this is a bit more unfiltered, but pretty much all my friends and family kind of know that these are my views, to a certain extent at least. I don't really like to hide or lie that much. Or not as much as is absolutely necessary, and it's definitely I've shied away from that more and more, especially in the last couple of years, especially the last year. I've just realized what a shallow husk of a life it is to just constantly keep going through it, scared of expressing your true self to other people. It's a safer way to go through life for sure. I mean, that's why I did it for a long time. I mean, I was hiding my true self for most of my life. I mean, I guess, again, this might add to the theory that I might very well be autistic, or at least on the spectrum, is that I've been masking my whole life. I'm not sure if that was autistic masking, or if it was just me being a fucking weirdo masking, but I've been masking, a lot of my life, just to fit in, just to not fucking pop out and be some weirdo, just try and find some desperate way to, fit in a social group and not feel weird and, not be alone, da-da-da-da-da. And truth be told, it was pointless. It was pointless because, first of all, it rarely helped me that much with fitting in with groups. And second of all, even on the few chances that I did maybe kind of manage to mask my way into a social group, it never felt fulfilling to me. It never did. I mean, hell, that's one of the big reasons why I stopped being friends with one of my friends recently is I kind of realized that like it had gotten to a point where a lot of times I was hanging out with them, and like their sort of extended friend group that they had, I was masking a lot around them. I was pretending to be a more like optimistic, not necessarily optimistic, but a more cheerful version of myself when I was around them. That it was just fake. Like I would just be pretending to be Mr. socially presentable version of myself, like just very very one-sided version of myself. And at a certain point, I just realized it was hollow. It was just not legit. It wasn't who I was. I wasn't allowed to ever be any other nuanced aspect of myself around this person. I had to always be kind of, yeah, like I said, the funny version of myself, the just cheerful version of myself, but I couldn't be like, you know, the more cynical version of myself, the bleak version of myself, the just overthinking version of myself. And at a certain point, I mean, I wish them all the best. I definitely don't think they're a bad person. I think they're a lovely person, and I hope they have, you know, great success in life. But I've realized, like, this connection is just not worth it because we're just on different wavelengths, basically. There's somebody who likes to be very positive and happy all the time, or at least most of the time, and they just don't want to be around people that aren't necessarily like that. So, all the blessings to them, but I just have to be honest with myself. I'm just not that person all the time. I'm just not. I am sometimes, but I'm not all the time. In fact, nowadays, I'm not most of the time because life is fucking rough, and it's gotten just rougher lately, and I think a lot of people feel that way. So, anyways, this is a whole fucking just way of me saying, yeah, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of, like, trying to play things safe, hide who I am, because life's too fucking short, and in the end, and again, this is the most incredibly fucking generic realization ever. Of course it is. It's like, oh, you're gonna die one day, YOLO. But there's a reason why it's such a cliche bit of advice, philosophy, I don't know. Because it's true. It is true. You are going to die one day. I am going to die one day. I'm gonna die soon. Everybody's gonna die soon. Because life is fucking short. Very short. It's shorter than you think. In fact, it might be even shorter than that shortness that you think it might be. Wow, that was clumsy-ass freaking grammar. But like, yeah, okay, again, cliches. But these cliches exist for a reason. You could literally get hit by a bus tomorrow. And people just kind of say like, yeah, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. And they get hit by a bus tomorrow, and they just kind of laugh it off and dismiss it like, well, whatever, that's a cliche. And I'm like, yeah, it's a cliche for a reason. Because it could literally happen. It could. Like, you just would die, and that's it. Your reputation doesn't mean shit anymore. All your worldly possessions, all this whatever, you playing it safe, didn't mean jack shit anymore. You could have been in a fucking padded cell your entire goddamn life, you know, making sure not to offend anybody ever, not making any risks, and then just get a fucking brain aneurysm one day and die, and all your safety meant nothing, because nothing is safe in the end. Nothing. The Reaper is coming for everybody equally. There is no safe way out of this. You're not going to live forever. Nobody's going to live forever. And even if you, like, take out the factor of your death coming, there's probably going to be some instance in your life, even if you played safe socially, where you're going to fuck up anyways. You know, like, something's going to happen to make you socially embarrassed in some way, or make you just socially fuck up in some way. You know, you're unintentionally so. So, like, why fucking play it safe? Why? Again, the only time I can ever see that making sense is, like, if it's just stupid to, like, not play it safe. Like, again, if you are somebody who works at a job where, like, they actively watch your online whatever activity and they're incredibly strict and they will fire you from your job if you express edgy opinions online, then yeah, don't do that. Be anonymous. Because don't be an idiot. Like, even though life is ultimately pointless and we're all gonna die, like, don't be a dumbass. Don't do, like, the equivalent of just, like, you know, stabbing yourself in the face, basically. Like, yes, you should be safe then. Or, you know, even more so, let's say you're, like, in some dystopian country where, like, I don't know, you expressing certain edgy political opinions or something could get you, like, black bagged by, like, the secret police and have you taken off to some detention camp. Like, yeah, play it safe then. That makes perfect sense. Again, I'm all about people being, like, as expressionate and honest as possible, but only in, like, the bounds of, like, you know, when it comes to reputation. Like, yeah, okay, people are going to judge you. People are going to think you're fucking crazy. People are going to think you're weird. But if it's just limited to that, if it's just limited to your social reputation possibly taking a hit, who the fuck cares? Like, who the fuck cares? Really? Okay, maybe I sound like I'm overcompensating right now by just going like so over-energized about this over just one little comment. But, again, I wish this person the best. Blessings to this person. You know, I get it. Again, I get it. I do get where they're coming from, and I might sound like I'm being very antagonistic and aggressive right now. I'm not. All love to this person. And again, I appreciate that it comes from a place of concern, that they aren't just trying to be like, fuck you, your opinions are stupid. No, they were just saying more like, oh, you might have like kind of edgy opinion. They said that, it was on my Romance is Mostly Bullshit video, where they kind of said that that like it's kind of a black-pilled philosophy that I'm spewing there. And maybe they were insinuating, they said something about like, oh, people might not watch your entire video and they might get different assumptions about you. Like, well, first of all, if the person's not going to bother to finish watching the whole video, I don't really care what their opinion of me is, because that's their problem. If they're not going to watch my entire argument all the way through, then that's on them. Because I think my argument's pretty goddamn succinct and great. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made it. You might think it's dumb and a bunch of horse shit, but I didn't think it was. Otherwise, like I said, I wouldn't have said it and uploaded it. Of course, I think it's a totally sound argument. And, but aside from that, like, why should I be ashamed of what I said? I wasn't spewing black pill philosophy. Maybe it was kind of adjacent in the sense that I think a lot of romance is just nonsense. But I think a lot of black pill philosophy is grounded in, like, you know, woman hating. And this, like, obsession with, like, the whole... It's more like... It's actually a very cuckolded philosophy, because a lot of times, at least this is my understanding of black pill philosophy, a lot of it's about, like, or maybe this is more red pill, whatever, where it's like, oh yeah, this is the way that the shallow dating system works. First of all, again, it's always like men versus women, so it's like women are the ones that are always at fault there, even though like guys can be just as big shitbags as women are in dating. I'm not gendering this shit. Everybody sucks in dating to some degree, and some far more than others. Not everybody does. I'm kidding. Everybody has the potential to suck in dating. Men, women, trans people, they all have the potential to be fucking awful in dating. It is not a woman-only thing, so I'm tired of that misogynistic bullshit. But then the other problem is that I have with like kind of this red pill, black pill philosophy. They're kind of like, yeah, the system sucks. First of all, they say that it all sucks. I never said that. I do believe that there is instances of true love, romantic love even. It's just incredibly rare, and I don't even think that's an unpopular opinion. A lot of people like agree that true love is incredibly rare. That's why it's so valuable, because it's incredibly fucking rare. I'm just saying that I think, you know, a lot of people just don't even really open themselves up to the possibility of that. And a lot of people will dive into a relationship because they're more scared of being alone than they are in just sinking into a mediocre relationship, because they get addicted to somebody romantically. That like that person played that brain trick on them that makes them kind of get infatuated by them, but like in an inauthentic way rather than like in a true love type way. Like a lot of people just confuse the high of love with like the deeper spiritual type of love, if I'm gonna use that cheesy term. But yeah, I don't understand how any of this is like something I should be ashamed of expressing. Like I said, I would say this to anybody, and I think if they like heard me out, I don't see how they could come away from this being like offended, really. Like unless maybe I was calling out their relationship in particular, but I wouldn't do that because that's awkward. But like aside from that, like what am I saying that's so bad? I'm not saying anything woman hating. I'm not. I don't hate women at all. I think women are fucking great. Oh, some of them are. Some women are terrible, obviously. Some men are terrible, and some men are great. Some, you know, humans in general are very much a mixed bag. Very, very much so. Yeah, like, just because I don't want to date women, I definitely don't hate them. I'm, like, a lot of my best friends are women. I think women are fantastic. Like, I have closer friendships with women than I do with men. They're just much more open about their feelings. They're generally more interesting conversationalists. I don't think it's a genetic thing. I think it's just because women are socialized to be better conversationalists. I think men are kind of shamed a lot of times from being, like, open and about their feelings and stuff. I do have men friends that are kind of more open, but it's rare. Men just generally are more closed up, which is a shame. I think it's why men have so many goddamn like mental problems a lot of times. Women do too, but I think why men uniquely have certain mental problems that affect them more often than women is just their condition to be more closed off and So again, I don't really know what I said that's like something that I should be ashamed of with my reputation. I really don't know. Same with like my other videos. I don't know, maybe I have some kind of edgy opinions there, but like, I don't think I've really expressed anything that's like hateful. I'm not a bigot. I'm not a racist. I'm all down with the LGBT community. I think religion's silly, kind of dumb, but I think people should totally be allowed to practice it as long as they're being like peaceful about it. I don't give a fuck. I'm a libertarian about that. Oh, using a political label. I'm not really a libertarian, but I am with that. I don't give a fuck. I think like Islam's silly, Christianity's silly, Judaism is silly, Hinduism's silly. They're all silly. Buddhism's silly. They're all fucking equally silly. I don't think one is less silly than the other. They're all silly. But I don't care. Go ahead. Have fun. I'm not gonna like hate on them on one like religious group over another. I think they're all equally kind of goofy. Maybe I'll give like a little bit of a leeway to Buddhism just because I think their philosophy kind of vibes with me a bit more, but it's still pretty silly in most other ways, like just like a lot of the dogmatic aspects of it. So again, what should I be ashamed of? What should I be ashamed of? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm all love here. I don't hate people. I might tease people, make fun of them, rip on them. But as I said in another video, I like to verbally spar. I like to argue with people. I like to break balls. But I don't hate people. I don't. I mean, I kind of hate what like humanity does as a whole to the planet. So I guess in that way, maybe I hate people. But that's not really like singling out people. I think maybe like as a superorganism sort of hate on humanity because I just wish we were less shitty to the planet, which again, is that really an unpopular opinion? Like I think a lot of people agree that humanity is like, as long as you're like not delusional about the horrible environmental impact humanity has on the planet, I think most people can agree that humanity is a pretty awful force to the environment. So in that way, I guess I hate people, but like my, answer to that is like I just wish people would just be as a collective less shitty to the environment. So even in that regard, it's like I don't want like humanity to go like extinct. I'd rather we just get our shit together because the environment's gonna make us extinct. And I mean, maybe it's a bit of an edgy opinion, but if it does, I mean, we kind of deserve it. We kind of brought it on ourselves, but I hope it doesn't get to that point. I hope that we do kind of go to like a Star Trek society and get our shit together. I'd prefer that. I prefer we become less awful versions of ourselves and become better. I'm all about rehabilitation. I don't like fucking like punishment and stuff. And okay. God damn, this is like another one of my manic circle around videos. It's funny. I think I am manic depressive because I was like the total opposite fucking state yesterday. No, I'm almost certain I am. Oh, let me put another badge of a mental affliction on me. Ooh, I'm such a snowflake. Anyways, but yeah, this kind of circles around to like what I was saying about how I think like this whole be the change you want to be in the world. I think I want to live in a world where people are allowed to freely express their opinions without being like horribly punished. It's this like obsession with like punishment. Like this is why I'm talking about when I'm bringing this up because I'm talking about how I'm like a very much pro rehabilitation person. And I think part of that goes in line with like I'm tired of like living in a world where people have to be ashamed of their true opinions on stuff. Like, I mean, I'm from America, and I know the UK is not so good on this, apparently, so, but again, I don't think I've said anything, like, hopefully that violates that law, I don't know, maybe it is, but, like, that's kind of what the First Amendment, in theory, is supposed to allow, is people being allowed to express their opinions freely, which I guess they legally are. It's more like in the social marketplace, people are not marketplace, whatever, social sphere, people are more, sort of reserved about expressing their true opinions, and I don't think they should be. I think people should be allowed to really own up to their true opinions. Like it's this, I don't know, it's this unhealthy like sentiment of people kind of living like a double-faced life that I'm just so tired of that shit. I'm tired of people lying and just pretending and just this fucking this ugly double-faced existence. It's really, I think, the real rot at the core of how fucked up we are, of how just disingenuous and just rotten we are getting socially, is that I think that, like, I mean, I guess this has always been the case in human history, but I feel like now more than ever is like really the liar's era. Like lying is like just so fucking abundant nowadays. Like I just think it's just out of fucking control. Everything is lies. Lies. Advertisements are fucking lie central. People are lying on dating apps. People are lying on People are lying on job applications. People are lying in politics. People are just lying to their friends. People are lying here, lying that. They're lying to them fucking selves. They're just lying. They follow religions. I'm gonna rip on them again, which are a lot of times a series of lies. It's all lies. Everything is lies. And it's like, I mean, okay, to go to the religion thing, like, sure, you can believe in certain philosophies of that. That's not necessarily a lie, but it's like the other parts are lies, or they're so not based in any evidence, they might as well be lies. But people just keep falling into it. They keep falling into it. They lie to themselves constantly. It's all just fucking lies. And I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. I'm so fucking tired of it. Ooh, look at me. I'm such a martyr. I'm such a martyr dying on the cross of truth. Oh, whoa. Whatever. I mean, come on. This is such a minor, this is all just so silly. How did I get so triggered by just one little comment on my tiny, near non-existent YouTube channel? I don't know. It's all so silly. It's all so fucking silly. This is like such a grand scheme of things. Like, oh God, my poor, tiny little insignificant reputation going to be ruined on a 31 subscriber YouTube channel. Like, oh, what a valiant sacrifice I've made in the war for truth. But that's why I'm saying I know it's cringy that I was like quoting Sartre here. But whatever. I'm going to do my tiny little part here and just be like, yeah, I'm going to be like my fucking true self. I just want to be my fucking true self. I want to be my true self here. I want to be my true self, like, talking to other people and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm not going to be as abrasive and in their face about that, because who the fuck wants some, like, weird guy just going in somebody's face and ranting about his opinions and stuff? Like, I'm going to do it in a, when it's asked. I'm not going to just barge in front of people's faces and be, this is my true self. Ugh. That's fucking obnoxious and stupid. But, like, I'll be Mr. True. I'll be Mr. Truthful. As much as I can be, obviously. With certain exceptions, obviously. Like, again, there are instances where you gotta lie for practical reasons. But if it comes to my reputation, man, fuck my reputation. Seriously. If people want to hate me, if people think I'm a dumbass, if people think I'm, like, obnoxious, like, okay, sure, go ahead. I'm sure you probably have totally valid reasons to think I'm an obnoxious, weird, socially awkward, pseudo-intellectual dork fuckhead. And you know what? More power to you. If you don't like me, if I'm not your cup of tea, I wish you the best. You can just go away from me. Go away from me. I don't want you to be around me. And you don't want me to be around you. And that's fine. I wish you the best. I want you to have a great life. Go ahead. Anyways, I think that made sense. Oh yeah, I was going to say something else. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I want to be Mr. Truthful. But then another thing I've realized. Okay, that's another thing I realized. And I kind of was reflecting on this after I posted the video. Was I was talking about, that was like my last sort of manic rant thing, where I was sort of saying how, like, when I first brought up how I believe in, like, rehabilitative justice more than anything, how I don't really like how, society kind of doesn't give people second chances a lot of times, or it does, it's like, really, they really don't necessarily. And I kind of said, like, oh, but I have an exception to that when it comes to, like, the elite people of the world. I think I said, like, I wish schizophrenia and, like, the horrible global leaders of the world, like, I think that those are the people who should be getting it. And how I just, like, view them as, like, maybe the few people that do deserve genuine punishment. But you know what? I think I'm going to actually have to retract that sentiment. I think I've realized, like, if you're going to be consistent with, like, having a rehabilitative attitude towards society, you got to, like, apply it to all people. I think I've been realizing that, like, the notion of, like, punishment is bullshit. Like, I get it on some level, for sure. Punishment is incredibly cathartic, especially if the person who's done it on paper deserves it. Like, if somebody has done, like, here's the thing. And this is actually going to be funny enough, me sort of referencing a religious thing that I actually do believe in, but philosophically I believe in it. I don't believe in the dogmatic parts of it, and that is the statement from, like, Christianity. I think it's from Christianity. But no, it must be, where it's like, love the sinner but hate the sin. And from how I interpret that is, I definitely think that there are evil actions in the world. Like, 100%. There's tons of evil actions you can do in the world. But I almost never think that the people who do them are necessarily genuinely evil. Maybe there's, like, a really, really, really small subset of people out there that are, like, genuinely like comic book evil level of evil that just like revel knowing that they're causing pain and suffering in the world, and just like they're just absolute pure sadists that just get off on the notion that they're causing evil in the world. But I think that is like almost nobody. And that's why I kind of have this issue of like sort of punishing people, because I think far more often than not evil is done either out of delusion or out of hurt. I don't think that most, or almost the vast majority of evildoers, people who do evil in the world, are like genuinely just, ha 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 ha, I want to cause suffering. Does that make sense? I don't know. Like, I like to rip on him a lot, but I'm even going to single out my good old buddy Elon Musk, and who's one of my least favorite people right now in the world. But, you know, once I kind of like calm myself down about my vitriol against the guy, I kind of realize, you know what? I actually feel bad for the guy. Maybe that sounds condescending. Maybe it sounds ridiculous coming from a guy who is not even a single millionaire, let alone a multi-billionaire. It's like, why the fuck is my comparatively majorly broke ass compared to Elon pitying him? But I really do. Sure, he's got substantially more money than me. Substantially more money than I'm sure any of you watching do. But that guy's life is sad. Oh, it's a sad, sad life. It's sadder than my life, which is certainly saying something because I'm fucking clinically depressed. But his life is sadder. And it's just like, I don't think Elon, like, I think Elon is very selfish for sure, but I don't think Elon thinks that Elon is like a bad guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think Elon wakes up in the morning and just like cackles to himself like, what kind of evil deeds can I do now today? I think Elon believes his own bullshit. I think Elon does in some way delude himself into thinking that he is truly a force for good for this world. You know, I think that he buys into the same reputation that the people out there that are somehow still fans of his, you know, garner in him. And I think that he goes out there and thinks that, like, you know what? I'm making the world a better place. I'm a good person. And, you know, maybe there's some times where I might have to crack a few eggs to make an omelet, da-da-da-da-da. But overall, it's going to be worth it in the long run, and I'm going to make the world a better place. I don't think Elon really thinks that he's like a grifter, a scammer, even though it pretty much objectively is. And when you look at things like that, he does a lot of, at least in my humble opinion, bad for the world. I think he's pretty much an entirely net negative person in his actions, in his sins, if you will. But as a sinner, I don't know if I can, like, intellectually, honestly consider him like an evil person. Because, again, I don't think he fits into that textbook definition that I have, at least in my textbook, the textbook of Luca, of being like a true, like, he's not a demon. If he is, basically, like, let me put it this way. If he is stuck in the delusion that he is doing good for the world, but he is invariably doing evil, isn't he just basically, again, another Bible quote, I guess Bible, maybe? He's on the road to hell paved with good intentions. And in that regard, it's like, I don't know, do I really want him to be, like, punished? Is that going to do any good? No. I would much rather the guy just, like, I don't know, have, like, a fucking mushroom trip, realize the error of his ways, and just stop being bad. Like, I don't want him to suffer a bunch or something like that. I'd rather he just, like, I don't know, well, more realistically, probably ketamine, because considering that's his thing. But, like, I don't know, he goes in a K-hole one day and then just, like, his brain just, like, snaps itself out of its delusion, and he just has this, like, horribly, maybe for a moment, painful realization of, like, oh my god, what the hell am I doing with my life? Gets out of it and just, like, is like, okay, wow, what the fuck have I been doing with my life? And then just becomes a good person. And you know what? That'd be enough for me. Like, I don't want to, like, have him suffer horribly. Because, like, again, what good is that going to do? What good is it going to do? You know, like, I get it. Again, I get it on some level. Because there's definitely a part of me that has that, too. That part of me that, like, likes that, like, notion of just, like, yes, let's punish the evildoers of the world. Let's make them suffer for what they've done. But, you know, when you get past that, like, kind of cathartic high that you get from watching an evildoer suffer pain, and you just kind of view it in a very calculating way, I think, at least from what I can tell, it doesn't benefit anything. It doesn't. I mean, the only, like, logical argument one can make for punishment as an entire concept is that it's a deterrent. And I think that's been disproven many times before, because punishment has existed throughout human history, and really severe forms of punishment. I mean, we still got pretty fucking severe ones nowadays, but, you know, at least it ain't like, I mean, that still happens too, but it ain't necessarily quite like medieval torture level. But, I mean, like I said, that does still happen in the world sometimes. It's not, but it's not as intense as it used to be. And guess what? It never did anything. People were committing crimes, doing fucked up stuff throughout all of human history, even being well aware of the looming threat of punishment over their heads. You know, I mean, same thing goes, like, you know, on a much more minor scale, but, like, even much more minor punishments when it comes to, like, raising kids. Like, you know, putting a kid in timeout, or grounding a kid, or, you know, putting them in detention, stuff like that. Like, does that really work that well? Like, not really. A lot of those people just end up being more rebellious down the line. They kind of just like, well, fuck you, dude. Like, what are you doing punishing me? All they want to do is get away with it. They don't really want to, like, correct their behavior, become a better person, because you're not really arguing with their, like, their better self. You're just trying to, like, inhibit them. You're just trying to smack them in the face, metaphorically. Sometimes even literally, because corporal punishment used to be a thing. But it's not authentically corrective behavior. It's just righteous sadism, essentially. It's just like, fuck you, you did something wrong, you little shit. But are you really helping them? Or are you just feeling vindicated in the fact that you kind of were, like, justified in, like, you know, causing pain on somebody else because they did something wrong? Okay, maybe it's a bit of an extreme word to say that, like, punishing a kid is, like, sadism, but I don't know, maybe it kind of is to some degree, depending on what kind of punishment you're doing. I don't know, I'd like not putting a kid in timeout. That's ridiculous. I'm not going to say that that's like sadism. But like, okay, I would say corporal punishment is. Yeah, corporal punishment is. Like, you know, like this whole thing of like, oh, this kid talked too much in class. I'm going to fucking whack him on his knuckles with like a ruler. It's like, you're just being an asshole. I mean, sure, don't get me wrong. Kid being disruptive in class is kind of being an asshole too. But it's like, I don't think you're necessarily that much better. You might be in the right. But you're just like, I don't know, like, are you really going to make that person a more considerate person? Or are you just going to make them, like, Pavlovianly conditioned to be scared, rather than really understanding what it is to be a truly, authentically considerate person? And in turn, realizing that by being a considerate person, I shouldn't talk disruptively in class. It's kind of like the difference between, like, you know, proper rehabilitative efforts of corrective behavior versus like the sort of Clockwork Orange attitude. And I think that that's the thing. That's sort of like how society is oftentimes treating bad behavior. It's the Clockwork Orange approach, which, you know, in case anybody's never seen that movie, is involving like a guy who is like a former gang member who's like a horrible rapist, murderer, and he you know, just like, you know, real low life of society, and they try to rehabilitate him, but the way that they try to do it is they basically try to like condition him to have like a disgust fear response to bad behavior, rather than like really trying to get into his psyche and make him understand why being a bad person is bad. They just try to condition him like a dog, basically, to be adversely avoidant of bad behavior, but not really being a good person. And I think that that's what our society is often much more in favor of. It's about just metaphorically and sometimes literally smacking a person on their freaking hands, rather than really getting at the core of like how to fix them. And again, I'm talking as like a naive person here. I don't know. I think that, you know, I like to think that most people are rehabilitatable if you really make the effort in it. But I'm sure that there definitely are people out there that are just past fixing. But I mean, even with those people, even with the people that are just really super far gone, I don't know. I think like maybe they should be probably contained from society for sure, just for the well-being of society. But do we really have to go further than that? Do we have to like horribly punish them and brutalize them? I mean, even if they themselves are a brutal, like even in some ways monstrous person, it's like, no, just put them in like a jail for the rest of their life. But, you know, don't make it necessarily like a hellish horror jail. Just, you've contained the threat to society, and that's it. If they're past rehabilitation, then just keep them in jail. It's kind of like, I mean, okay, and this is the last thing I'll say, because I know this video is going on way too long, but it's kind of like why I think that by far the best rehabilitation system on the planet is 100% the Scandinavian prison system, at least from what I've understood, where they're always focused on fixing people. And even with their worst criminals, the worst they'll do, like Anders Breivik, the guy who did that like mass shooting, like what was like 10 plus years ago, they didn't like put him to death. They didn't like, you know, do some shit that they would do in like some totalitarian government where they would like torture him endlessly. I mean, what he did is one of the most inexcusably like horrible things somebody can do, most unforgivable things somebody can do, pretty much. Like he is the closest, he might be like the closest one can get, in my opinion, to somebody who is like basically a monster. Cause I don't know, I'm sure, again, he had some delusion, I'm sure, that made him think that what he was doing was probably right in some way, but I don't know, like, you've got to be really far gone if you think that there's like some way to like justify, you know, just killing a bunch of innocent kids. Like, it's just, but my point is, does that really matter at the end of the day? The guy's in prison, he's never getting out of prison for the rest of his life. That's enough. That's enough. I think that's enough. Yeah, he should never get out of prison. Like, when you're at that point, that's the point where I'm like, yeah, you're past rehabilitation. If you've gone to a summer camp and just shot a bunch of kids for some delusional idea, you're past the point of redemption. And okay, I think I've made my point. Holy shit, that was pretty all over the place. But I'm glad I at least had a bit more vim and vigor in this freaking video than I did yesterday, because geez, that video yesterday was just depressing. But it was depressing, but it was definitely authentic. I can see why I did it. I was not feeling much yesterday, which was eerie. I was gonna say I wasn't feeling good, but as I said in my video yesterday, it wasn't that I wasn't feeling good, I just wasn't feeling much of anything at all. It's creepy state to be in, but you know, that's life. It's the highs and the fucking lows. Just gotta go with it. Anyways, that's that. This has gone on way too long. And if that person who commented on my last video sees this, again, I say this again, thanks for the comment. I appreciate it. I appreciate the sentiment. And wishing you the best. And yeah, alright, that's it. So long.